How's it going, you guys? So in this video I'm going to be talking a bit about white rice and the pros and cons of white rice and healthy Asian cultures and why they may or may not be healthy despite such a high refined carb intake from white rice. So a subscriber recently commented asking me what my opinion is on white rice in regards to my healthy carbohydrate hierarchy system. They mentioned that Asian countries are an example of why white rice can be considered a healthy carb. So my overall opinion is white rice is extremely easy to digest and is well tolerated by most people due to the harder to digest parts of the plant being removed. This refining process also removes almost all of its anti-nutrient content, so soaking is no longer necessary compared to its whole grain counterpart, brown rice, which should always be soaked for 24 hours or more before cooking to neutralize the anti-nutrient content. Along with the removal of the harmful compounds, the refining process also removes almost all of the grain's nutrition except for tiny trace amounts. The government now requires conventional white rice to be fortified with B vitamins and iron to prevent deficiencies that eating large amounts of unfortified refined grains commonly cause. This fortification process, while necessary to prevent nutrient deficiencies in malnourished individuals, also creates an entirely new set of problems. In particular, the fortification of supplemental iron in foods puts all consumers at extreme risk for iron overload, which is a very common issue with fortified foods. Is that it's almost always overlooked by doctors due to complete lack of nutritional understanding or awareness. So iron overload is very common, and doctors generally lack awareness of it. Because, all that they see is, the symptoms of iron overload. Iron overload can cause permanent damage to the heart and all organs, and it can cause symptoms rapidly in a dose-dependent fashion, depending on the frequency, volume, and duration of fortified food consumption. However, to my knowledge, white jasmine rice, which is the form that I used to eat it in for years, is not fortified with iron. As a side note, jasmine rice from Thailand is much lower in arsenic than American-grown white rice, and hence jasmine white rice is a better option. It's a better choice. So you can avoid the fortification of iron and supplemental nutrients in white rice altogether, as well as possibly reducing the arsenic exposure by choosing Thailand-grown jasmine white rice over American-grown white rice. So white rice is devoid of nutrients. It's easy to digest and well tolerated. The carbohydrates in white rice are entirely used by the body to create glucose and refill glycogen. Essentially, white rice is simply a pure source of glucose, very close to consuming pure dextrose powder. The only difference being that it requires chewing, a bit more digestive work, and contains a small amount of incomplete protein, approximately 1 gram of fiber per 36 grams of carbohydrates. Since carbohydrates in general are not even an essential nutrient, and consuming them in the diet are not even at all essential for survival or for optimal health, consuming even nutrient-dense carbohydrates are not necessary, which means any carbs you actually are eating at all to serve for any carbs that you are eating to serve any benefit at all, these carbs should be as nutrient-dense as possible. Otherwise, it makes zero sense to eat them if your goal is to be healthy. For the average person wanting to be healthy, there is zero benefit to consuming white rice. For someone who desires fat loss, now white rice not only serves zero benefit as far as nutrition, it's not providing you anything that your body needs or anything that could potentially benefit it, such as polyphenols or extra mineral content, But now white rice is actually serving a net negative, as it's just serving as a source of glucose with no nutrients. Someone just doing bodybuilding or weightlifting training might benefit from 1 cup of cooked white rice approximately 1 to 3 times per week. Although factually, gluconeogenesis can provide enough glycogen refill from conversion of fatty acids to fuel both hypertrophy and strength workouts. So for those of you who don't believe that, you can check out my video on gluconeogenesis being a demand-driven process, primarily using free fatty acids in the glycerol backbone of triglycerides to refill glycogen in response to whatever demand is requiring glucose or glycogen to be created. If you really want to eat carbohydrates, though, jasmine white rice is a great, easily digestible, well-tolerated source for athletes who do frequent, high-volume, high-intensity sport-type training. And generally speaking, if you're doing 3 to 4 sessions of sport-specific training, sparring, football practice, sprinting, weight training, and you're doing multiple sessions, it can be very hard to digest like sweet potatoes and stuff in between sessions, and so something like dextrose or white rice might be more optimal. Whereas if you're sedentary or only do basic bodybuilding or powerlifting training, the more nutrient dense your carb sources are, the more nutrient dense your carbs are, the healthier that you'll be. And white rice is likely not contributing any benefit whatsoever. So, bodybuilding and powerlifting is not really as demanding on glycogen as something like multiple sessions of high-intensity interval training would be, or if you do a CrossFit style workout 2 to 3 times a day, which is what a lot of sport-specific type training tends to be like as far as energy systems are concerned. And so, bodybuilders and powerlifters who think that they need to be consuming like simple sugar like Gatorade and stuff during their workouts, in my opinion, it's foolish, it serves no purpose, and it's basically just an excuse for them to slam down junk food, really. But if you choose to eat carbohydrates, regardless of your activity level, there's no reason to be eating jasmine rice or white rice, considering the fact that it's not necessary for anything that you're doing. And even if carbohydrates were necessary, there's healthier options with more nutrients, and there's really no reason why. It doesn't make any sense to consume white rice, regardless. So, a note on healthy Asian populations who eat white rice as a staple. Generally, the healthiest Asian cultures who eat white rice are either in poverty regions of Asia and don't suffer from diabetes or obesity due to caloric restriction as a direct result of poverty, or these people live in populations such as Japan, who also have very high consumption of whole foods of both plant and animal sources. These populations, like Japan and Hong Kong, tend to eat fish, including raw fish. They tend to eat organ meats, fermented soy products, such as natto, for example, or something like kimchi, and a wide variety of healthy whole foods as the biggest percentage of their diet. White rice is generally just a very small side dish on the side of mostly whole foods in these people. And some of these cultures, such as Japanese people, actually have a form of portion control embedded directly in their culture and eating rituals. And they have some kind of special name for it that I can't really remember or pronounce. It is also true that green and black tea, which are heavily consumed in Asian cultures, have very powerful blood sugar lowering compounds, which personally I've actually found tend to cause me low blood sugar for some reason. So they cause hypoglycemia for me, especially on a low-carb diet, which may also play a role in negating the effects of the white rice that they consume, which is generally in small portions anyway. These populations also tend to live in areas where walking is the main means of transportation, further lowering the glycemic negatives of carbohydrates. The vending machines in these populations and the gas stations and convenience stores also tend to sell healthier whole food choices mostly, such as fish and natto, green tea and other healthy whole foods and beverages that would be replacing the sugary sodas and candy bars we generally see in Western convenience stores. Furthermore, these populations have seen a sharp increase in diabetes and obesity over the last 20 years as fast foods in Western culture has slowly been creeping its way across Asia, creating the same problems of excess refined foods and high caloric, low nutrient intake as seen in Western populations. My belief is that the overall diet and lifestyle of the healthy Asian populations are what negate the effects of the white rice. So it's overall the overall totality of their lifestyle and their nutrition and the way they eat, the portions of each thing, and the type of foods that they would generally eat. In addition to a lot of the societies like being severely malnourished and calorically restricted to where they would generally die of nutrient deficiency and immune deficiency before they'd ever even be diagnosed with diabetes. And not to mention caloric restriction itself significantly lowers the possibility of developing full-blown diabetes and definitely reduces any chance at all of becoming obese. You don't see homeless people walk around that are obese if they've been actually like poor and you know, malnourished for a certain amount of time. It just makes no sense. So in conclusion, I do not consider white rice a healthy or nourishing food. It should be seen as a quick, easy digested source of glucose that does not contain the same compounds that contribute to autoimmune or digestive problems that the whole grains do. And unless you're an athlete, you have no reason to eat it for health purposes and should stick to more nourishing carb sources such as Tier 1 and Tier 2 fruits and tubers on my carbohydrate hierarchy, as they provide an abundance of vitamins and minerals that many are deficient in and are well tolerated. If you do choose to eat white rice, see it as a pleasurable food that you enjoy, but do not fool yourself into believing it's serving any kind of nourishing purpose other than contributing towards energy requirements or fat gain. Okay? So if you guys have any questions on this, post them down below. And yes, that was a blog post that I actually wrote over the weekend while I was doing other things that allowed me to multitask. So I'll post a link to the blog post down below so you have a more condensed version of all this information that you can read at your own pace. Let me know if you have any disputes on that or any questions or any arguments against it, and I'll talk to y'all very, very soon.